I am vetting thoroughly so the burdens of my daughter don't end up on me. I want that guy who has money already, who has life insurance already, who has a 401k. These are the discussions we're going to have. There are things at 31 or 30 whatever years old that I expect him to have that I had, right? So if he has all of these things and he wants to marry my 21-year-old daughter, please take her off this volatile ass market, because anything she does, and please understand this, anything she does between the age of, I think it's 19 and 30, will affect her for the rest of her life and her eligibility to be married.
How much does
So
he
the
need to be making? Because I know you say he needs to make money. He needs to have like what's the range?
for me, it's not exactly money. Like, people's net worth is really what I'm looking at.
Okay.
If we're talking about 401k, you can take a mental note. And he's been, like, let's say military, for instance. He did 8 years in the military. Now he has a government job. We talk about 401k. You got life insurance. You can actually take the cost of these things and say, okay, this person has assets that are actually going to grow because he started at 18. Right. So it's really that. So if he tells me he makes 75 to $90,000 a year and he's 30 something years old, but I'm like, he's been in the workforce for 15, 16 years. Like, that's what matters to me, actually. I don't even like these people who get money quick. I don't like guys in oil and gas. It's the most cyclical shit I've ever seen. Here in Houston, there are dudes out here driving Ferraris and they get them repossessed every day because they were in oil and gas for 3 years doing underwater bookkeeping because their homie hooked them up, and then they lose the job and can't get another one for 5 years. I don't even
Mm.
want that. I want to do with an established pattern, who's in a established hierarchical pay structure. That's what I want. If he's 16 years into the military, he about to retire at 20, get that dude. I'm all over that. That's what I want.
I have a question to Inez's point, like I guess to everyone. Do you feel like if she doesn't have a father in her life, but she, I guess, is on a path or on a trajectory to, I guess has her head on right, is on a good trajectory, do you feel like she can, advocate and vet for herself enough an older man that is, on that same mental capacity as her?
No, I don't think so. I think that women have a, like, it's in our nature, right, to lead with our emotions. Not to say that every woman is irrational and that her emotions are erratic. Some women have a really good grasp and grounding of and control over their emotions. But we do lead with our emotions, and that is an asset in a lot of situations. However, in terms of picking a partner, it's not, because what that does is it opens us up to being susceptible to game without any defense mechanism. I think whether you have an active father or an active father figure, either or, I think in this situation, in terms of vetting another man, it really is, and Trigger Mike and I have had this conversation, a man is really the only defense mechanism for another man. Like there really isn't another way to deal with that. I think that you need to find a man that you trust in a father figure role if your father is not active, to help you vet out these men. And I think that'll really change the trajectory of what dating and courtship looks like.
I want to
Okay,
add on to.
that.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Not to. Okay, just like what if she doesn't have any father figures, like any male figures? Like I, there's a handful of, yeah. I'm really interested to know,
All
like,
right.
no father
So
figures at all, no
this
grandpas,
this
no
is actually
uncle.
not a new occurrence. This
Yeah.
actually, you got to understand that the reason there's been traditionally more women on Earth entirely than men is because men die in a myriad of ways. They go to war, they die. They die in factories, they die at work, all this type of stuff. There are whole communities where there are just boys where the father is not present. And the one thing women have traditionally done is to say, we can't raise them into who they're supposed to be. Go find. You have. This is something I say about the burden that's put on black men to mentor everybody's kid. The one thing I can't do is go out there and find them because they're just gonna fucking rob me or spit in my face. Bring them to me. Their mothers need to bring them to me. Take your boy, or I'm sorry, take your girl or whoever to a pastor, to someone and in a family, and say, this is my daughter. I don't want her to make certain mistakes. Take her under your guidance. Somebody. It's just whether you want to approach them or not, whether it's a pastor, whether it's getting involved in the church group. Not saying all of these things are good things, but these are things mothers can vet and supervise for themselves. You can go sit in church with your daughter while she attends that church group, right, to make sure she's safe. But you're putting her around men who are going to speak sense to her. Do you realize all of this went astray when, well, basically men left the church, but people in general left the church, right? There used to be places where you could congregate with like-minded people who were living in a certain way. That's one of the best ways to do it. The church kind of saved the community no matter what state it was in, right? Whether fathers were there or not. But go ahead.
Yeah, so like with men leaving whatever religious establishment, right? Um, there's still like these girls are still going to school, they're still going to work. There are still male figures that still show up. You still got neighbors, your friends' parents. There are still men around you, and it's kind of like how we talk about that mentality between the women who think there aren't any good men and the women who think the good men are plentiful. They see the world very differently. Father figures are plentiful, right? They really are. The statistics back that up, that men do tend to participate and show up in that way, right? But if you're outside of those statistics, there's no way there isn't anybody around you. Even if you have a girlfriend, an auntie, somebody who's married, who's willing to say like, okay, let me loop my husband into this to help you out. Like there are so many other ways. You might have to get a little bit more creative and think outside of the box, but there are always men out there who are willing to do the job.
I agree. And I'm going to share a personal story with you guys because why not? We love personal stories, right? So a few years ago, I was courting with a man, and he was like, I'm really interested in moving this forward. He wants to get engaged, he wants to move in together, he wants to do all of these things. And I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds good. But of course, you have to go through my meeting my family, the males in my family, going out to dinner, having a conversation, talking to them, and we'll see how that goes. That's what he had to get through in order to even talk about moving to a next step. He said, yeah, sure. Okay, that's not a problem. Okay, I could do that, right? All right, I want to say after that conversation, I didn't hear from him the rest of the week and then disappeared. Poof, disappeared. Like after that, after he agreed to do this whole meeting, he disappeared. So the point of me bringing this up is to say men are an extra layer of protection for women, period. You guys are walking around with zero protection. And then we're wondering why so many negative things are happening and we have all these negative and bad experiences is because we're not using the protection that naturally we are to have. So I like telling this story because I promise a lot of women wouldn't have the experiences that they have had if they use that layer of protection. If it's not your father, it could be your brother, your uncle, cousin, neighbor, grandfather, somebody in your family that's an older male, hopefully married, that you respect their leadership. You
Yeah.
have to use you have oh I know Mike you wanted I know you want to say something, but you have to utilize all of these things when you're trying to get into a marriage with somebody. Like there's no way you could do that by yourself. So stop kidding yourself. And that's why we are making all of these pitfall mistakes that can be avoided if you just have that layer of protection. Most men can't even get through layer 1, and that should be your layer 1. Go ahead, Mike.
Yes. So you seen my episode Dating Ruined Everything. And I said those exact words. I said most men won't even want to get your family involved early. All right. I've always actually been the beloved boyfriend. Um, make sure my wife sleeps so she don't hear this. I encountered one of my old girlfriend's moms in the airport, and she didn't know I was engaged at the time, and was like I saw her at the bar where I went to get some breakfast, and we talked. Then I was like, "Have a great day." Did not know she followed me to my gate. I thought she was on the same flight. She wasn't. Just to talk to me again and say, and I'm like, okay, what is this about? And at the end of the conversation, can can you just give my daughter a call? Right. So the reason I say that is that her husband, when I was in college, I went to go meet her family. I've always been big on that. I'm a big family person. She didn't know, my ex-girlfriend didn't know that her father pulled me to the side and said, "You seem like a good guy. You're actually very personable. If your intentions are good, make sure I see you again. If your intentions aren't good, make sure I don't see you again." Yo, when I look, this guy was short, like a, just a short of a guy. That feeling that went through my chest, like this dude just checked me in his house, like drinking a beer, then tapped beers with me and walked away. Woo, that's what dads can do. That fear, I told you, most men will not come to your dad's face, right, and just chop it up and all that if their intentions are purely to hit. Get your family involved early. It is your greatest defense mechanism. You have people that have been in relationships. I know people that have broken up with someone at a barbecue because that person was there to meet the family and dude was flirting with his sisters. You see what I'm saying? Like you have to bring people around your family. It's such an easy way to see if the relationship should stop or progress.